Welcome to our Summer SIAL special bonus episodes of the Food Professor podcast, presented by Cattle.
As the official podcast for the SIAL Food Innovation Show this year in Montreal, Sylvain and I had the opportunity to interview the leading thought leaders, brands, and makers in the food industry. As the saying goes, these are their stories. Top global retail technology expert and friend of the pod, the one and only Carl Boutet, discusses his role as the in-house retail technology expert at the Montreal SIAL show, highlighting his involvement in marshalling the experts in the food industry and innovation industries together to share wisdom and insights across the sector here in Canada and around the world. Carl emphasizes the importance of food and retail, noting that successful retailers like Walmart and Costco have integrated food offerings as part of their successful business growth model. Carl also mentions the challenges of innovation and details McGill's Innovation Lab, which focuses on frictionless commerce and healthy consumption, as well as its interdisciplinary research. Boutet also touches on the overhyped and underhyped aspects of smart carts, AI, retail technology, and as well, the need for more iterations in format innovation. Let's listen in now.
Hey, Carl, welcome back.
3 for 3.
Exactly.
But you weren't here last time. You skipped out.
I
skipped out.
I did. It wasn't on purpose.
It's not SIAL unless we have Carl Boutet here.
That's right. Absolutely.
I must say, you're looking quite natty today. You're looking very sharp today. You're natty. Like you're presenting super well.
Well, for the people on podcast, that obviously comes through really clearly.
I'll say academia.
You're starting to look like an academic.
Academia does well for you.
Really?
Really?
You look calm.
That's the medication. I just got to tell you, Sylvain, though, because he has another husband. Now, you're not his only husband.
That's right.
And the last time I was on the show with his other husband, it was in a cabana on the pool side. So you're going to have to have a conversation, you two, because apparently he takes the other husband to nicer places.
But to be fair, this is a far better podcast studio than the cabana inn. This is beautiful here. We're here at SIAL.
There's a lot more food, and the food's a lot better. Yeah. I'll give it that.
Look at this. Look at our aquarium.
Come on. Listen, the aquarium's incredible.
The fishbowl.
I just had some amazing Peruvian food, like three steps over that way. I mean, come on.
Are you enjoying yourself so far at SIAL this year?
Yeah.
Because you've been to SIAL many times.
Well, many. It's starting to. Yeah, I feel. I mean, it's funny. I was sort of late to this show. How I discovered it. It was, maybe 6-7 years ago, and it was like a whole new world. Yeah. So I've been enjoying it more and more, and progressively getting more and more immersed. And this year, I had this opportunity that came, where Tony reached out and said, "Could we, maybe involve you some more?" Where they have this sort of expert thing, and I said, "Can I go as food professor?" They said, "No, that's already taken."
That's already taken.
Copyright.
So I was like, "Damn, okay, what else could I come up with?" So so I'm the retail technology expert here at the show, and there's a whole to-go section that I've been involved with, and I just got off doing 3 sort of back-to-back panel presentation things here. So it's been great. I haven't walked the floor a whole lot, but it's always.
It's hopping.
It's always hopping, and it's the core of consumption, right? That's what I'm curious about, and I probably haven't paid enough attention to this sector until SIAL came along. I was more like a lot of people in retail, focused on fashion and some of the stuff that we see as quote unquote sexier, but. Listen, this is where the core of consumption happens, so it's important that we pay attention to this.
Because you're pretty prolific. I mean, you cover a lot. How much is food in your life right now as a professional academic?
Well, first of all, I'm not an academic. Don't get me in trouble, Dr. Charlebois.
To me, you are.
Okay, well,
I'm more inclusive than some of my colleagues.
That means a lot to me, actually, coming from you.
You don't need a PhD,
or a tenure track.
You have a relationship with students.
Yes, I do.
You're an educator.
Yes.
And that's it.
You share wisdom.
I definitely like the word educator. That's definitely something in my wheelhouse. I teach. I'm actually teaching right now. I'm in the midst of teaching a 1-month intensive, which is rough on students on emerging technologies and new business models. And there's a lot of interest around food, especially on the delivery side. This whole to-go thing. And I think where my interest came from in this sector was. Because of the velocity and volume of the consumption in the sector, it's sort of everything else gets pulled along with it more and more. So if we look at the most successful retailers right now, are the ones that have really over-indexed on their food offer. The Walmarts, the Costcos, they recognize that this is sort of I'll use another Professor Galloway's. This is, the food is sort of the channel of consumption that everything else clicks onto.
Yeah.
Right? So the conduit.
The creator of habits. And
yeah, because then you just sort of bolt everything else on. I've had concerns around that, but I mean, it's just, if you start with this, then everything else sort of goes from there. Or at the other opposite end is you go from like the luxury sort of high margin fashion, and everything sort of flows back towards this. So it's one or the other. It's an interesting, but they seem to be sort of the two worlds, and they're coming together, interestingly enough.
That's great. And in terms of the food, so this year you're the tech guy for SIAL.
Yes.
What are your expectations coming into SIAL this year compared to other years? Are you, because I mean, a lot of people are talking about AI right now.
Yes.
A lot of conferences about AI.
Yes.
Our first guest was about AI. It was all about AI.
And I'll layer on another thing. I'm doing a session tomorrow on innovation, the challenges and opportunities. And last year's innovation winner was out of business in 6 months. And she had ticked all the boxes. Super smart, innovative idea, award-winning, good for the planet, good for her, good for people. Innovation is hard, right?
Yeah, and there's ebbs and flows, right? So you're familiar with my sort of mantra of the acceleration and the great acceleration, and how the pandemic sort of pushed a lot of things forward, too much so in some cases, where now there's been like a retrenchment. So innovation was a lot easier like 2-3 years ago, because everybody's bandwidth and attention was there to try new ways of doing things, and there was a lot more curiosity. Reality caught up, gravity caught up, and now there's this right sizing, this retrenchment. We've saw Loblaws, with significant downsizing in their digital department, or
we're seeing at Walmart right now they're closing their innovation centers and consolidating back to Arkansas, right?
Yeah, they just announced that, and
but that to me, I mean, I'm very interested in your perspective on that, because that to me isn't stepping back from innovation, but it's just a different innovation model of discovering and executing it, right?
So it's all about cycles, right? It's these ideas, and I said ebbs and flows earlier. It's this idea that we're trying different ways, and we're learning from each one. And all these organizations, Walmart is one great example, who I think is one of the best innovators in our especially at scale. They're hard to beat, and the fact that they recognize that some things work and some things don't, and they just quickly move past that. And we've had that. We deal with Circle K or Couche-Tard in our lab at McGill, where they've also basically restructured their whole innovation group as well.
And I've heard now that this particular lab is being revamped as we speak.
It's already
Tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's exciting, and that's one of the things we're here talking about, actually, and I think it speaks to the innovation agenda and how it evolves, and we're fortunate with Circle or Couche-Tard that the longevity already we've had with them, which is rare in this space, and that probably comes more from our academic side, where we need longer time to get them meaningful data. They need to do the research they do. But we're already on to the third. I think we have one of the best experiments in the world, honestly, around frictionless commerce and what the technologies are and how those are evolving and what's working, what's not working. So it's to have already 3 or almost 4 iterations in some ways of that technology, of that path to purchase in a living lab. It's not a closed lab. It's for all intents and purposes a regular
customers.
I was there in February with some folks from New Zealand.
Tell our listeners where the lab is located physically.
Yeah, and we call it a lab, but if you didn't see the writing in the window, you would probably just think it's just another corner store.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a regular corner store, right, or a convenience store. So it's on Sherbrooke Street, downtown Montreal, corner McTavish, which is actually our business school, the Bronfman building. So it's right there, facing office towers, condos. Obviously, a lot of students, which is the primary customer base, especially while we're in semester. So it's a living lab in the sense that it's a regular operating store with its own true operational constraints, and that we're trying to layer technology and new ways of doing things. Some things again have worked really well, and others have not nearly as well. So it's just what we're seeing, and we're able to do all sorts of research around that too, which is fascinating.
That's great. Now, I'm going to put my academic hat on. Are you guys producing any peer-reviewed articles out of the lab?
Absolutely.
You are?
Yeah, so we're doing this tour right now across Quebec. It's actually something I helped instigate with Charles de Brabant, which I think both of you...
I've met him.
The executive director of the school. So we're going around the province right now, taking some of that, academic research and making it accessible and meaningful to small businesses. So we have this on the Bensidun School website. We have a white paper that you can download that is sort of the key learnings of that research, because there's quite a bit of it, actually. There's a lot of research happening.
I suspect so.
And it's what's interesting, too, most of that research is interdisciplinary, so it's not just business school research. We have a lot of computer science research around computer vision and these things. We have from our engineering school, even our medical school, something, food deserts is something I'm sure you're very... So that was actually the first project that came our way pre-pandemic, obviously, when the medical school was one of the first to show interest in this space, saying, hey, we have a lot of research. The medical
school?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because they were doing a lot of research. The head of research at the school, was very interested in the impact of food deserts and on quality of life. And I just a couple of weeks ago, I saw we had a sign in the window there saying, if you're diabetic, here's a QR code. We'd like to do some research tied to your consumption and things like that, that we... So
brilliant.
So, and that was actually one of the first things. At this point, I was just sort of passively supporting the school. It was at the very beginning. And when I sat in on that meeting, had the head of research for the medical school, a neurostatistician, which I didn't even know was a thing, sitting at the table, and they were talking about sort of research projects they were working on, how they could use this space. I was like, wow, okay, this is a whole other level, because I was at that point actually shopping.
It's a dream. I mean, all the data comes to you. I mean, it's all there.
It's exactly it. And I was looking at standing up an innovation project at that point. It was going to be sort of mixing private and public. And when the McGill thing came along, I was like, wow, this is perfect. And when I heard these people around that table, I was like, yeah, it can't be anywhere else for this intention. And it's really, it keeps on evolving. It's fascinating. Some of the stuff is really, digital twins, very, very technical. And other it's like, how do we do nudging towards healthy consumption? How do we incentivize healthier food choices? So the abstracts of the research is in that white paper. You can download. Anybody can read and understand. You don't need to have a PhD in neurostatistics.
Very accessible.
Yeah. But if you want to geek out and you want to go hardcore as an academic, right, and you want to find the research, you want to find
conceptualize,
get it, then you'll get the link to the actual public, research, the full research paper.
That's the best research. You do both.
And
absolutely.
That's what's been interesting about our sector is we have so much data on retail. That's what researchers love.
And the fact that results are so public, do you think that it's actually helping business in general? Like outside, I know Couche-Tard is a big partner of yours.
Yeah.
But what about business? Do you think they're paying attention to what's going on?
Well, that's part of actually this tour we're doing. We're trying to sort of bring that, because there's often this perception that academic and business realities are two very separate things, and then one doesn't necessarily apply to the other. We're really working at that intersection, and that comes from the beginning of sort of the raison d'être of the school. When Mr. Bensidun started school, he said, our industry is one that's in rapid change. The skill sets we need are more and more diverse, hence the multidisciplinary side of the school. I don't just need accountants and marketers anymore. I need all sorts of people.
Just so you know, Michael, sorry to interrupt you, Carl, but retail in academia is poo-pooed on all the time because it's never been seen as sophisticated enough for research and for academia. So this particular announcement at McGill was kind of groundbreaking.
Wow. Congratulations.
He brought money, he brought some attention to what I thought was a huge void to academia, I think. Because retail is not sexy. It's not. It should be colleges. Colleges should take care of retail. And when it was brought to McGill, I thought, bingo, perfect.
Interesting.
And there was different places they were looking, and Mr. B could have put his money in any one of those places, but it landed there for hopefully those right reasons. And it's just been fascinating to see it expand. And what I'm really interested in is really how can we relate it back to the standard, the broader business community, including the small businesses. That's what we're doing with this tour. We're up to 14. We've been in places like Saint-Jérôme, Saint-Hyacinthe. We've gone into these secondary markets, And just last week we were in Joliette. And, we had 70 people. It was sold out. Wow. With partnering, because innovation is more and more top of mind as well. And so I think our timing was good with this project, where the business community is like, yes, bring it on.
All right, last rapid fire series of questions for you. Overhyped, underhyped.
Okay.
You choose which. Smart carts in grocery stores.
I guess overhyped, although they're not that hyped, but I think it's sort of a transition technology.
Just walkout technology?
I think short-term overhyped, long-term underhyped. I think we're just catching up to Moore's Law. Digital twin metaverse versions of stores for allocations. At a purely merchandising, sort of very simplistic good, right hyped. Otherwise, I think we're already past the hype. Okay. AI in general in let's narrow that down to like forecasting. In grocery retailer. I don't know. It's hard for me. It can't be overhyped. Can't be overhyped. No. All right. Last question for you. Format innovation. So we see lots of retailers trying format innovation. Are they succeeding in your mind? And what role does the technology piece play in that? Like self-checkouts and, for a while we saw these digital displays. You could scan the QR code and find out, the name of the cow that you were about to consume. Poor Betsy. Poor Betsy. Exactly. But you knew Betsy had a good life and one bad day, right? So what do you think? Listen, I think it's really interesting. We have a partner here named Leave, and they're doing something called Lib. And if you've heard of this in Lower St. Lawrence, where we're talking about food deserts. These are communities that cannot justify having their own grocery or even a convenience store anymore. So these sort of self-serving small, we've seen them in other parts of the world. These autonomous little sort of pods that you can drop. I think that's fascinating. I don't think there's enough. I don't see enough. Sort of iterations. I think we need more of that. I think we need to find more we're seeing it in other retail formats, and grocery I think still has a lot of work to do to try to rethink the size of the store and the role of the store. Well said. So great to see you here in Montreal. Absolutely. Such a treat. Thank you for coming back on the podcast, Girl Boutet. And, I'm waiting for my prize, 3 for 3. I have something for you. Is there like a friggin' flyer? An award. I get a pin. I have for you your very own copy of Leaders Leap, Steve Dennis's book. Your other husband. Okay. Anyway, listen, thanks for being on the pod, and safe travels. Thank you. Take care.
Thanks for tuning in to our summer SIAL bonus interview series. Michael and I will be back live on the microphone together in late August. I'm the food professor, Sylvain Charlebois.
And I'm Michael LeBlanc, media entrepreneur, consumer growth consultant, and keynote speaker. Safe travels, everyone. See you back in August.